Right, okay, so you'll have seen from the thumbnail that this video is about the wiper motor and upgrading it. Now, I've started the video off there. That's the standard motor, third click up on fast speed. Now, the car's been sitting ages, so I'm having to use a screen wash to get a bit of lubrication on the screen. It is wobbling a little bit because I haven't got a constant stream of water as if it was raining. But third speed and then drop down to second, you can barely tell the difference. Now, compared to a modern car like what I drive daily, there's no comparison. Now, apparently there is an upgrade out there, and I've read stuff for a few years now about using an early Mark 4 Golf 5-pin motor. And I've done a little bit of research and read some stuff, but there doesn't seem to be like a really sort of concise bit of information where you've got like a comparison, you've got all the part numbers, you've got how to change it, and all of it compiled together. There's plenty of videos about how to change the motor. There are posts about this upgrade dotted about that you can find, but it's never given me full confidence to say that's an upgrade that I need to do. And whenever there's a post from someone that says they've done it, there's always lots of questions about, well, which one is it, and what's the part number, and is it worth doing, and how much modification do you need to do to the mechanism? So it's always been a little bit wishy-washy, and I've wanted for a while to do this upgrade and see if it actually improves the wiper motor action and the speed at which it wipes the screen. So I've got the upgraded motor, and as the video goes along, I'll put the part numbers into it and into the description, and we'll compare the two motors side by side on the table, and we'll discuss how you can grease the mechanism, because you might have a perfectly fine working motor, but if the mechanism itself is seized because water can get into the spindles, then it doesn't matter what motor you put on there. If it's going to seize up, it's going to seize up and it's not going to work right. So there's that part of it, and then there's the motor upgrade as well. So I just really wanted to do a bit of a comparison before and after. So we've seen the wipers before. We can see that they're not great. You can barely see the difference between fast and slow. And it'll be great at the end of the video if it is successful as an upgrade to see what it looks like then, and maybe put the two videos clips together side by side or one after the other, see if there is a noticeable difference in the speed at which they work at and between the two settings. Your third setting is, well, your setting one is intermediate or intermittent, sorry. You've then got slow and fast. So anyway, crack on with the video. First thing really is to start taking the scuttle panel off, and then start taking getting to the mechanism and get the motor off. So let's get cracking. Right, okay, so this this mechanism, you can see clearly that the original motor is smaller than the upgrade. And as far as I'm aware, these 3 holes here should line up with 3 holes here. But what I'm going to have to do or be aware of is that this spindle here, as far as I can work out, is going to have to go in the same position on there. I think so. One thing to notice is, and in truth, this probably needs replacing, because there is a little bit of play in here, and that will not be, you can't tell now because I'm moving the whole unit when I'm bending it, but there is some play in that. And now if they're seized and you want to rebuild these, there's a circlip just in there, and you just want to knock that circlip out, and then this part here is attached to this part. It goes all the way through and comes out here, and then there's a little ball joint on the back of there, ball joint on here, and then another ball joint on there. Now if moisture and water gets into this part and seeps down past the seal, there is a seal in there, and into there, it starts to corrode and wear the shaft of the spindle in here. And I did dismantle this and I cleaned it up and I repacked it with grease, but it is still showing a little bit of play. I don't know if you can really see that. It's difficult to do that with, you can see there a little bit. There is some movement in there, and that's not great, really. In truth, this mechanism should probably be replaced. It's not something I've got right now, so it's going back in for now, and if I come across a better unit, then I'll replace it. But as it stands, it's not great. You can see there, I think. It's not easy to show you, but there is a little bit of movement in that. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to try and take these out, remove the unit, and then I'll have to get to that 13mm on the top to put on that new motor. Now what I've ended up going for a Valeo unit. This is a Valeo motor. There are other ones, Phoebe do one, there are other brands that do them. The reason I went for Valeo is because the original is a Valeo unit. That's it there. The whole mechanism has Valeo on it, so I wanted to try and go with the original sort of setup. I wouldn't be too bothered about going for a Phoebe unit. There are some unbranded ones. I wouldn't be as comfortable using those, although I'm sure they're absolutely fine. But that's the reasoning why I went for a Valeo unit, and it made me feel a little bit better that the original is Valeo, and I'm putting a Valeo unit back in. So anyway, so I'll set the camera back up and we'll start dismantling this this motor and see if I can get it to go back in. I'm more aware than anything that I'm gonna have to try and get this in the same position on there. So it's a sort of a 90 degrees, isn't it? Here. So that I'm gonna have to move this somehow to get to it. So I can't do it with one hand. Right, so I'll set the camera up and we'll go from there. Right, so two motors there and there. You can see that the shaft there is the same. That's going to work with that. The bolts there are going to work with that. And from what I can see, these are all in the same place. But this is where this extra piece here is going to foul on when this goes on. You can see that already, that's going to cause a little bit of problem getting that to sit. In fact, it's only slight, it's just here. You can just see, now I've seen people doing a bit of a cutout there, and you can see why, or I hope you can see why, because I can't quite get that to sit on there because of this part here. It's just not this corner here. So I'm going to have to mark that and cut a slot here for the body of the motor. So I'll get a pen, mark this out, get a hacksaw. I haven't got a grinder here with me, so I'm going to have to use a hacksaw. Just cut a little triangle out there as neat as I can, and that should fit. Okay, so that's my thinking there. If I cut that little slot out there, the hacksaw, then that will allow these to line up, because that's fouling onto the body of the motor. So let's get this cut out and see if it fits. Okay, so there's the piece, there's the cut. I think that should do it. We'll see if it fits. Oh, that fits lovely. That fits absolutely lovely. Oops. Okay. trying to do here is, that was the position that it was in before, and that straight position there. I'm not sure whether that will actually make any difference, but I want to try and put it back in the same position, assuming that the old one's in the stop position and the new one's in the stop start position. So I'm putting it back to where it was, hoping that that's right. Right, okay, so that is, as far as I'm concerned, attached. The 3 10mm bolts are tightened up. The 13mm nut is tightened up. And everything, as far as I can tell, is in the same position that it was in previously. Now, remember, if you are doing this, you really want to change. I only recently took this apart and greased inside these spindles and put the seals in. And the seals back in and the little circlips back on there. And as I've already said, this is not in the best condition that it could be. So consider that this might need replacing. This, as far as I'm concerned, this needs replacing for a better one. But I don't have a better one at the minute, so it's just going to have to go back in. The point of this is really to see if these wipers work any better, as in they're faster. So you can clearly see there's a size difference, so I can't see why it wouldn't. But the reason that you're having to cut this, if it's not already obvious, is the distance between here and the barrel of this motor is this is further across, closer to here. Therefore, it would foul on this bracket. So you're having to cut the bracket there to allow the barrel of the motor to move closer to the holes, the locating holes of the bolts. So that's why you're having to do it, and that's where you need to cut it. It's really obvious, as you'll have probably seen, once you start offering it up into the holes. So let's go and get this back on. I'm going to test fit it. I think I'm going to try and position it where I can actually just start it and see if the motor works before putting everything back together. Right, okay, so I've got a bit of a confession to make. I made a mistake on what I said you needed not to make a mistake of, but it's so easily done. When you put the mechanism in the last clip you might have seen that I put a bit of masking tape on the spindles, and that was just so when I got into the car and put the wipers on, I could see clearly the direction of the motors and where they were going. Now, it definitely sounds like it's more powerful, which is good. But the little flags of masking tape, if you noticed, were going the wrong way. So when it started, the wipers would have been pushed off the windscreen and into the scuttle. This is why it's so important when you put this back together. You need to test, I would say you need to test this first before you put the wipers back on. Because what I did was I positioned the arm that goes on the spindle of the center spindle of the motor 180 degrees the other way. Now, I just had it in my head that I was doing it the right way and that it was the way it came off, but it's so easy to lose track of which direction you had it on. So I had to go back to the videos that I'd done previously to see that I actually put it on 180 degrees wrong. So now, when I put the wipers on, if you look at the little flag there, just put the wipers on now, on full belt. They're now going upwards from the starting point, which is what you want. And beforehand, if you go back on the video, you'll see that they were going downwards. So that, in the middle there, the starting point of the mechanism, this arm, I had it originally over here. So I had to flip that, undo the 13mm, and I did it off camera because I wasn't 100% sure what I'd done. 180 degrees that way, so it starts there. So if I stop, it's facing that way. You stop it, it's now over that way. So that makes a massive difference of where it begins. Now, dead easy to get out, and I've put it back in. You've got the 310mm there, and then the plug is in a slightly different place, but the loom's got a bit of length on it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, so now I need to put the scuttle back on, and one more thing. On here, take these off. There's a little rubber seal that goes here. I'll put the part number in the description or on the video. I'll edit it onto the video. It goes here. I'll put them over here. Let's have a quick look. This is them here. Now, I've got two newer ones off one of the lads on the forum because one of mine is split. That's them, because if you notice there, it's split. So what could lead to the wiper mechanism breaking down is that this allows water to get in if that breaks, and it sits on top of here where the circlip is. So they need to go on there. Don't forget those. One there and one there. And then you can put the scuttle back on. To get the scuttle on, there's a couple of plugs that need to be just clipped on the underside, and you've got to pull them back through and into the jets into the scuttle. So I'll do that and then start putting the wipers back on. We'll see what it's like. Right, what a nightmare. So I had to take them off again because I didn't have the rod coming off the part that's, I don't know what to call it, the rod that comes off the spindle of the spline centre of the motor was slightly upward. So when I put everything back together and went to start it, the wipers went down just a touch, back onto the scuttle and then up. I was like, oh my goodness, right. So took them back off again and then undone the 13mm nut and just lined it back up with straight across. I must have moved it slightly because I had actually fitted it like that. But when I've undone the nut, I've obviously moved it more than I thought I had, put it on straight, and then when it's reset itself to home, 0, dating point, whatever, at the beginning of its cycle, its starting point is slightly up before the curve of the mechanism. So it was actually making the wipers go down and then up. So, you know, it's not too bad. 3 10mm off again. Obviously I had to take the scuttle back off, but now it's perfect. So I'm going to get in the car, get them going, and let's see how much better they are. Fingers crossed. They seem it, but from inside the car, it'll be the best sort of judge of whether it's better than it was. So back in the car, ignition's on, bit of fluid. So that's just with a normal wipe. First slow, fast. Oh, that is a hell of a lot better, let's be honest. That is noticeably better. Noticeably better. So that's on fast, slow, and then intermittent. Should come on again in a second. There we go. So fast. Oh, that is, there's no denying that that's better. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. That is much better. The biggest thing with this job, I think, is just lining up the mechanism and making sure, I need to eat my words a little bit, when you take it off, make sure it's at home, so the wipers are off and they've gone to their original resting place. And when you take them out, try to get it's quite difficult because you've got to get the 13mm, so you've got to kind of move it anyway and then put it back down on the spindle, on the spline in the middle of the motor. You need to get it in the exact position it was in. But I would suggest, just in case you get it wrong like I have, is that you put a little bit of masking tape on and then wipe the motors, wipe the wipers, and you can see the motor moving and you can see where the little flags of masking tape are going, and you can make a judgment. Because what you don't want to do is it either goes off the windscreen, scratches the paint on the pillar, or it comes downwards and it comes down onto the scuttle. Now, that's what mine did. Well, I noticed it the first time, so I corrected it, and then I went not quite far enough, so it was dipping onto the skull. So to try and avoid that, just watch where you're putting the mechanism parts back in. Anyway, I think that's a success. I hope that this opens up for a lot of people the option to upgrade these wipers with a little bit of confidence that it is doable, it's dead easy. The little modification that you that you need to do, that people have been discussing and talking about, and what they mean by that is just a little notch off the plate, and even when it's fitted you can't see that anyway. I mean, it's hidden under the scuttle, but it's, even when it's fitted and mounted, you can't see this little modification. But I think that's really, really well done, and I'm really, really pleased I've done that, actually, because as much as I don't really drive it in the rain, if I ever get caught in the rain, I know the wipers are gonna do the job. So if you've liked that and it's been helpful and you've enjoyed watching it, then give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, thanks very much. Cheers.